The Dolphins are playing the Chiefs, Frankfurt, Germany. How lucky the Germans are. What a game that'll be. Steve Merrill's going to take that apart in great detail. Plus, we're looking at USC, Washington, Auburn, Vandy, a couple of NHL games, and a whole lot more. You're watching Wager Talk Today, everybody, the best daily sports betting show on the planet. I'm the Prez. My co-host is Teddy Covers, and I still haven't shaved. Steve Merrill, welcome to the show, my brother.
Boo! Happy Halloween.
That's
for
Halloween
you, Prez.
to you.
Look, Canadian costume for Prez, and this is a U.S. baseball costume for Teddy. So it's International Halloween Day for all the viewers.
Okay.
We appreciate that very much, Steve, because I brought absolutely nothing for
Your Anthony
Halloween
Bourdain
today.
costume is fantastic, Teddy Covers. Fantastic.
No,
It's just a Tuesday.
Yeah. Go, Teddy.
Let's talk about Notre Dame and Clemson. Right now, looking at the Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Fighting Irish 3-point road favorites, total 44 and a half. There are even some 45s out there. And my question for you is this. Who the heck's betting Clemson at this number? Because all the money's come from Notre Dame already. I haven't seen, the consensus sites are crazy in favor of the Irish in this game. And I can't fathom a reason to play Clemson at +3. To me, that number is really, really cheap for the Notre Dame. What am I missing? What's the market's missing? How do you see this game?
That's the exact reason to play Clemson, the reason you just mentioned. And that's why I wanted to talk about this game, Teddy, because I actually did a standalone solo video on Monday afternoon as part of the top 25 videos we do every week. And, of course, this is a top 25 video because of Notre Dame, not Clemson. In fact, Clemson is not even getting a single vote in either the AP or the coaches poll. And those go about 30, 35 deep. They're not getting a single vote anymore. It's a 4-4 team. What do they have left to play for? And I agree. If you look at just scoring margin and even factor in schedule strength and a little bit of home field, you'd get like Notre Dame by double digits in this game. So I was surprised to see the number this cheap as well. In fact, when I did the solo video yesterday on Monday, it was 2.5 at the Wager Talk live odds screen. And I even said in the video, if you're going to play Clemson, wait, because this line is definitely going to hit that key number of 3. And it's already done so now by Tuesday. So the question becomes, does it hit 3.5 or 4? I think it very well might, because as you said, Teddy, Notre Dame is the most public play I'm seeing right now in Week 10 college football, as high as 80% consensus. Whenever it looks like that, I'm always looking for a reason to play the other side. And I know it's tough to pull the trigger with Clemson, but I think there's a couple reasons you can make that argument. First of all, still one of the best defensive teams in the country. They should have beaten Florida State. Multiple 10-point leads in that game, lost in overtime. And yes, it's been a disappointing season, but if they're going to get up for a game, this is probably the game. I mean, maybe they'll make a bowl game. They might not if they lose this, but they'll probably get to 6-6. They'll make a bowl game. They might not even go. This is the biggest game remaining on the schedule. And I'm going to take the defensive dog and fade the public here with Clemson. But I agree. I think this line might keep going higher. It's already gone half a point in the last day. I would play Clemson later this weekend. And by the way, it's on the bottom of the rotation, but it's a noon Eastern kickoff. It's been delegated back to the early start, and you can get tickets in the $60 range. So that's how bad things are in Clemson. Yet another reason to pull the trigger with the ugly underdog.
So these teams met last November, and it was a complete Notre Dame blowout. It was 28-0, 35-14 final. The score, but it was 28-0 going to the fourth. The Irish in control. Now, they did get a couple of non-offensive scores in that game, but Clemson's special teams aren't good again this year. And Notre Dame's ours, you know? When you see blowout last year, you see the markets cut. I mean, you keep saying, well, Clemson's 4-4, but this is the game they're going to step up. Wasn't last week's game the game they were going to step up, or the week before the game they were going to step up? Isn't this a lost season for the Tigers? Can't we make more money betting against them than betting on them?
It very well might be. And, you know, I always feel like saying teams quit is very overrated, but there is always maybe one or two teams in each major sport that quits each year. And it's normally a team that has national title hopes or championship hopes, like the Angels, for example, in baseball this past year. And that is a huge concern here. I will point something out, though, about the last couple of games. I know they lost to Miami in overtime. That was a really bad spot, I thought, last week against NC State. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass there for the lackluster effort. And it did show 2 turnovers to none. But they completely shut down NC State. The 24 points allowed, very misleading. They only gave up 64 rushing yards and only 138 passing yards. And the last 2 losses now, they've had 5 turnovers to just 1 forced. In fact, the last 3 games, 7 turnovers, only 2 forced. So, yeah, if that happens again, they're in trouble. But their defense played hard last week and still played strong. Granted, Notre Dame's a huge step up in class. I get that. But this is a defensive dog play and a fade the public play here. And that's really, it's the only way you can make a case for Clemson. But as you know, sometimes these ugly games cash, and Clemson is still a very talented team if they come to play.
Steve Merril joining us, everyone. Exclusive handicapper at WagerTalk.com. And guys, it is Customer Appreciation Day at WagerTalk. And you know, and Teddy and I talk about this all the time, we are so appreciative of all of you guys. Not only the customers and clients who purchase our plays, but the people who take time out of their day to watch our shows. And there are a lot of you guys. We get thousands and thousands of viewers every single day. We're at 131,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel and climbing. And what we've done is we've taken every handicapper on the website that wanted to participate, it was their decision, and made them $2. So, for instance, I've got a hockey play up tonight. It's $2. Teddy, if he's playing an NBA, it's $2. Steve Merril, what are you playing tonight, and are you NBA participating?
Yep, NBA $2 on TNT, a national TV best bet, NBA $2 Tuesday. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Yes, Jessica, last night's NHL 5% loss was brutal. We'll talk about that later. Let's get straight into this Sunday NFL game. And Steve, you know, look, Germany got lucky here. Dolphins and Chiefs. This is going to be a really, really fun game to watch. We have a line here of the Chiefs minus 2.5 and a total of 50.5. I'm writing up the NFL presidential address, and I can't find my way to the under on this game. I'm probably going to be betting the over here. I know that's super square. What are you doing?
Well, first of all, I'm going to talk about the side, but if you like the total and you like the over, Prez, I would play it sooner than later. It's sitting on that key number of 50.5. And I do see, if you check the Wager Talk live odds screen right now, there are a couple 51s out there, including a major offshore and DraftKings. So, you know, 2 of the biggest books in the world. So definitely the risk reward is a no-brainer. If you like the over, you play the 50.5 now. If you like the under, you wait, or you grab the 51 that's already available. And this is a high-profile game. Yes, it's an early kickoff at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Sunday morning, but it's on NFL Network, so it will be nationally televised. So you expect maybe some over money to come in for that reason as well. But I'm going to look at the side in this game. First of all, it's always a red flag when the public's on an underdog, and not surprisingly, the public is backing the Miami Dolphins here. So this game might actually make my NFL Fade the Public video later this week on Friday night into Saturday. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts here on Wager Talk TV when that video goes live. But one of the reasons is, of course, because Miami's a fun team to back, an explosive offensive team, 6-2 on the season, 6-2 against the spread. But the 2 times they've lost, the 2 times they failed to cover have been the only 2 times they've played a really good, maybe Class A team, if you will. And that was the Buffalo Bills, 28-point loss on the road, Philadelphia Eagles, a 14-point loss on the road. This is a neutral site, another road game against the Chiefs. And the public is all of a sudden jumping ship off the Super Bowl champs because they looked so bad last week. Patrick Mahomes, though, gets sick the day before the game. His young 2 children and his wife all had a stomach virus, a bug, flu-like symptoms. Mahomes came down with it on Saturday, and he did not play well Sunday. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a very mediocre 60-something quarterback rating. So we'll give him a bit of a pass. But they also had 5 turnovers in that game. A 5-1 turnover disadvantage is why they lost 24-9. But their defense shut Denver down. Gave up only 87 passing yards, only 150 rushing yards. And yes, if you look at common opponents, the Dolphins beat the Broncos by 50, the Chiefs lost by 15. But that's, as we know, is why we don't look always at common opponents. I think this is a great bounce back spot, and it's sitting on that key number of 2.5 because Miami is getting some public love. This line would have been 3 or 3.5 otherwise. We'll take the value with the minus 2.5. And I'm not sure it's going to hit that key number of 3 because, once again, I think the Dolphins are going to be a public dog this week.
So I want to talk about the total for just a minute here, because we have Mahomes flying internationally off when he's sick, which is not always a great thing. We have cluster injuries on the Dolphins' offensive line. They were without 4 starters by the end of the game last week. We'll see how many are able to suit up this week, but you certainly have a cluster injury problems for Miami offensive line. You have a Chiefs team that 6-2 to the under this year. They're better defensively than they are offensively, and no one's talking about that. And we have a Dolphins team that forces totals to be really high because they have that explosiveness. So we're looking at the highest total on the board again this week, sitting at 50 and a half. Isn't this number too high given the circumstances for these two squads this week, total wise? Or is this all, hey, Chiefs are passing, let's not worry about this, the total so much?
Yeah, once again, that's why I like the side here, and I love the cluster injuries, especially on the offensive line. And I am talking about the Chiefs' defense. As I mentioned, they still shut Denver down last week. Probably the most underrated defense in the league this year. Everyone knows, Kansas City from Mahomes and Kelsey and whatnot. But this defense, like you said, Teddy, is really good this season. And I think the travel, luckily for Mahomes, if it was a stomach bug, that's usually a 24-hour thing. So depending on when they're traveling, he probably had just enough time. But it's not a great situational setup as far as travel goes, because the Chiefs had to go out to the altitude and thin air of Denver, play a road game, travel back, and now go all the way to Germany, whereas Miami had the benefit of staying home on the East Coast and playing a much weaker opponent in New England. So that is one concern I have, is I think the situational setup is better for Miami, but we definitely have to keep an eye on that injury report. If you have cluster injuries at any position, that can be a real red flag in the NFL.
Yeah, Teddy, I love your point about the offensive line. And I think, when you're looking at teams like Miami, Detroit, San Francisco, those offensive lines, the offensive line is crucial to every team. But the way those teams play, the offensive line is absolutely essential. I do want to make a point about Kansas City's defense, and I have already before. I agree that they're a good defense. I don't think that they're nearly as good as their numbers show. I mean, they let Denver put up 24. It was short fields. But on a whole, Minnesota put up 20. The Jets put up 20. This is not a team that has played Philadelphia, Buffalo. Well, they did play Detroit first game of the season. But I'm not sold on their defense yet. It'll be interesting to see. But when you look at the number 50 and a half, 28-24 gets you over. And I got to believe that both those teams are going to be able to put up 24 points. And Steve, you're right about that key number being 51, because 24-24 gets you that field goal to 51. I don't want to wake up to watch this game, but given that it is the Dolphins and the Chiefs, it looks like it's going to be an early Sunday morning for the Prez. Steve, you're part of the Customer Appreciation Day. You have a TNT NBA play up tonight. It's $2. Anything else you'd like to promote?
Yeah, it's over a 90% discount instantly with that $2 NBA best bet. And by the way, you might want to pay attention. I know we're talking college and pro football, and it's been a great football season for me at WagerTalk.com, but the NBA is just lights out. I'm off to a 3-1, 75% start this season. The only loss was by half a point. So I'm 1 point away from a perfect 4-0 sweep to start the season. And now going back to January 1st, 79-49 this calendar year in the NBA. And I've got that $2 best bet for Tuesday night on TNT. And you also might want to consider an All Sports All Access for the rest of the year with that special discounted price. Works out to just about $7 a day. It's the rest of the World Series, my number one ranked NBA, college and pro football, and college hoops starts in the near future. Get the rest of 2023, October, Halloween, and November and December. And that works out about 2 plays a day. That works out to like $3 on every play for the rest of the calendar year. Check out $2 Tuesday, but also check out that All Sports All Access. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Outstanding stuff, Steve Merril, everybody. And Steve will be hosting Wager Talk today, December 4th to the 13th. So Teddy will not have to put up with my shit. Teddy covers. We're going to get into what did bettors learn. But before that, I want to talk about my night last night. I had 3 plays for my clients. My NBA play, Orlando +1 first half bet. That cashed. I am now 5-1 to start the NBA season. My Josh Jacobs under 63 yards was a miracle cash. He was at 61 yards 5 minutes into the second half and didn't touch the ball again from a running perspective. It created so much drama in our house because I had a 5% teaser on Buffalo and Detroit that I cashed. And I'm just screaming at the TV, not number 8, not number 8. But I did lose my 5% NHL play last night on Vegas in regulation. And I do want to make a couple of quick points. It was the wrong side, period. I expected Vegas to be lights out last night and Montreal to come in a little tired. It was the complete opposite. Montreal looked incredible. I was so impressed with that team, especially in the third period. And Vegas played like dog shit. With that said, Montreal needed 2 goals to take that game to overtime, and one of those 2 goals came on the goaltender for Vegas trying to clear the puck, and he slipped. And the puck went straight to the Montreal guy who put it in an empty net. Either way, it was the wrong call. I have also lost in my 5% NHL plays, the last 3 in regulation I lost, and all 3 of those teams won in overtime. So I am going to stop releasing 5% regulation plays. But I did have a 2-1 night last night, and I did win my 5% NFL teaser. I am sorry to everyone on that Vegas Golden Knights play, but I'm now on a 10-2 NHL run, and I got another one tonight. Teddy, what did bettors learn last night?
So if you're watching the World Series last night, you already know what happened. Bottom of the ninth, D-backs down 3-1. Moreno at the plate. Ball 1. Strike 1. Oops, it's called a ball. Okay, 2-0 count. Ball 3. Now it's a 3-0 count. Strike 1. All right. Ball 4. Takes off the helmet, rather running to first base. Oops, it's called a strike. And now he's got to protect the plate instead of being happy with working out his walk. Swings at a bad pitch with a 3-2 count and gets out. That miscalled pitch on a 3-1 count might have changed the whole World Series. One pitch. If you were watching the game, you know the leverage of that particular pitch. Instead of a potential rally, 1 out, nobody on nobody out and 1 on in the ninth. Now it's 1 out, nobody on, and you better swing away because the ump might call some random shit again. I'm not in favor of more replays. Longer delays, longer games, more commercials. We have enough replays. And when it gets overturned, is it inconclusive evidence? That hasn't proven to be the case. But I am in favor of getting calls right the first time. The NBA football needs a chip and some sensors. I'm tired of these angles. Oh, did he get across the goal line? Where's the goal line camera straight ahead? You got a goal line angle this way. Yeah. You got a goal line angle that way. You can't tell. Chip and sensors, we know every single time. Did he make the first down? Did he get across the goal line? Period. And MLB needs robots to call balls and strikes. I wasn't there before. Last night, when one umpire call has the potential to change the whole World Series, I'm there now. Get the humans out of the equation and get it right the first time so you don't have to worry about these replays. That's my 2 cents. That's what I learned last night, Lawrence. How about you?
Yeah, and Teddy, it's not like there isn't, this hasn't happened. They have those chips in soccer nets, so this is a thing. Look, there were 2 bad calls last night too. So in the Detroit Lion game,
many bad calls in that game.
No, yeah, in the baseball game, but in the Detroit Lion game, and this had no effect on the bets whatsoever. But the Max Crosby fumble recovery, the guy was lying on the ground. Now I understand that his shoulder and elbow weren't on the ground, but by mere physics, given that he was like, the ground is here and he was like that, the chances of his knees being on the ground was 100%. Now, I understand they didn't actually see the knee on the ground, but that wasn't a fumble either. Look, dude, we're getting into AI. You and I are talking about chips in, and umpires calling. 20 years from now, it's just going to be robots playing and calling. That's where this world is headed. Guys, we got Mark Zinno joining us, and then Carmine Bianco after that. We're also going to do a marketplace part 1 if we have time. Mark Zinno, Welcome to Wager Talk Today. We love having you on, man.
Here, Teddy, I will echo some of your sentiments, and I will share them as far as the umpires are concerned here. Now, if you go back to that third inning where they scored their 3 runs, go back and watch that 2-2 pitch to Nathan Lau. That absolutely was strike 3, and it was called a ball. And then what happens? Double in the gap, strikeout, round out to second, single, 2-run homer. That would have been a 1-2-3 inning if he had punched him out like he was supposed to. Absolutely change the game. However, I will say this much. I am in favor of batters allowing 1 ball strike review per game. If you give every starter, all 9 hitters, 1 chance the entire game to review a ball in the strike.
It's going to last forever.
No, it's not.
Boring
Listen,
enough.
hold on. Prez, you get 1 chance the entire game, and you are a starter. Not a pinch hitter, not a pinch runner. You're one of the 9 original starters. You get 1 review. You want to use it in the first inning? Not everybody's going to use it, Prez. If you want to use it in the first inning, go ahead, knock yourself out. That is up to you as the batter. But literally the replay on a ball and strike comes within seconds. We get that overhead view. It's not that hard to buzz down to the umpire and say, you missed it, pal. That was a ball. Fix the count. It literally can happen instantaneously. We get that replay within seconds of that overhead cam. Every batter can get 1 replay of a 1 ball or 1 strike call the entire game.
I'm taking the over instantaneously.
Yeah. And I'm always trying to figure out I've always wanted to know. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me jump here, Prez, and then we'll get on to the topic at hand because I don't want to get go down this rabbit hole too long. But you're talking about 18 potential challenges. So you have the time where they got 20 seconds for the batter to challenge in that 20-second window. So there's 20 seconds for each one. And then you have the challenge going upstairs. Now you have it can't be less than a minute per challenge. It's likely to be more like 90 seconds. And if I know MLB, they'll get a commercial in there. So we're talking about 2 minutes per. Wow. 18 players, let's say half of them use it. That's an extra 9 minutes. That's an extra 18 minutes per game. And they just took 30 minutes off a game. That made baseball watchable again. The last thing I want is another 20 minutes added.
Replay an in or out call instantaneously is the same way baseball can replay a ball or strike instantaneously.
Okay, we got to move on. But Mark, just out of curiosity, because you used the word instantaneously, what is the difference between instantly and instantaneously?
About 5 letters.
So why are you making it longer? Just go within. I don't even understand why the word instantaneously exists. Anyway, USC, Washington, USC plus 3.5. Is that the team we're betting here?
Yeah, Washington has been playing with fire the last 4 weeks, guys. And there's an argument. They should have lost 4 games, every single one of them. At Arizona, a 7-point game. We know they should have lost to Oregon. The only reason they beat Arizona State was because of a 90-yard pick 6 that they scored, and their offense could barely even get in the end zone that game. And they were up by 2 against Stanford with 5 minutes left in the game. Michael Penix throws a pick, and if Stanford was a moderately competent offense, they go down the field and kick a game-winning field goal in that game. Washington is in trouble right now. They are not playing their best brand of football. For USC, I get the shine is off them, and I understand what everybody is saying about them, and it's generally true. However, USC has a spot here to literally save their season. They win this one, and then somehow go into Autzen Stadium and defeat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. And nobody's going to take it away from them. They still have a shot to go out and win this thing. So they sort of control their own destiny. That sneak out win over Cal, had they lost that game, I'd view this totally differently. But they still got life. They're at home. Washington has not been good the last couple of weeks. Washington's defense is not all that to get excited about. They're giving up over 400 yards per game. Expect the shootout that we all expect to see. But I'm not going to back the Trojans here because we've seen this Pac-12 conference cannibalize each other, and this is the spot where Washington, who should have already had a loss on their schedule, is going to take their first loss in conference play and knock them from the ranks of the unbeaten.
So from a theoretical perspective, I get it. We want to bet against the Huskies. They haven't been that good. They're 0-4 against the spread their last 4, and they feel like they're living on borrowed time as an undefeated team. I'm with you conceptually. But is USC the opponent that can get them? USC's 0-6 against the spread. in their last 6 ball games. At no point have the markets been close to what USC actually is. They've been way weaker, and I'm not convinced the markets have caught up. The one time they were a dog this season, they were a 3-point dog, and they lost that game by 28. Never in it.
Yeah, but they weren't in it because they had 5 turnovers, and Caleb Williams threw 3 picks in the first half of that game, which was a complete outlier of his entire season over the last 2 seasons. So I don't know how much stock I want to put into that. As far as, it's not like Notre Dame came out and outplayed them. They scored 3 touchdowns in the first half on 9 plays and 64 total yards because they turned the ball over. So it's not like Notre Dame absolutely outplayed USC in that game. The game script got away from USC early, and they could never get back in it. I don't know that this is a game script that's ever going to get away from them, because I don't think either one of these teams can actually stop each other. Last team to hold the ball wins, point flip kind of scenario. I'll take the home team, and the home team that is catching points, no less.
Mark Zinno joining us, everyone. We've still got Marketplace coming up, Teddy's Big Game Breakdown, and Carmine Bianco with a couple of NHL prop bets. Stay with us all the way to the end. Mark, Auburn, Vandy, you like the dog again. Tell us why.
I mean, this is as ugly as a game that I would ever play the entire season. I mean, look at this. Vanderbilt has lost 7 straight. They have issues on the offensive side of the ball. They haven't been able to decide on a quarterback, and yet they're facing an Auburn team that snapped the 4-game losing streak of their own last week with a win over god-awful Mississippi State at home. Here's the rub, guys. You know, if you look at the home road splits for the Auburn Tigers, they are absolutely dynamic and jarring. There is not a world, there is not a planet, there is not a galaxy where Auburn should be laying 12.5 points on the road to anybody. This is a team, the Auburn Tigers, that has been outgained in 3 road games this year to Cal, A&M, and LSU by 615 yards. They haven't even been close. Their offense has scored 14, 10, and 18 points on the road. This is not a spot where you can back Auburn laying 12 points. I get how bad Vanderbilt has been, but Auburn going on the road here or against a Vanderbilt team whose offense still, you know, even though, again, they're having issues at quarterback and they're playing some quarterback roulette here that I don't necessarily love, I just can't ever trust Auburn to lay this many points on the road against anybody. Vanderbilt will figure out a way here. And, oh, by the way, Auburn gave up 48 to LSU and only scored 18 against a bad LSU defense. LSU's defense is actually worse than Vanderbilt's defense. So if they can only score 18 on the road against LSU, I don't know that they're going to do much better against Vanderbilt. And laying 12 points, guys, if Vanderbilt gets to like 14 here, I think it should be enough for them to cover this number.
Teddy, you're muted, my brother.
We live in a world of hyperbole, okay? And we all say stuff, Prez in particular, that didn't really mean. I'm going to give you a chance to walk this back, all right? Whose defense is better, LSU's or Vanderbilt's?
I think it's kind of a wash. Neither one is good. Neither one is respectable.
So if you're grading out these 2 defenses right now based on potential, personnel, I'm not talking about the stats. I'm talking about moving forward. If you're grading out these 2 defenses right now, you're going to call them even?
I mean, they are both giving up 400 yards a game. They both have terrible pass defenses, and neither one of them can still run. I mean, it's negligible. LSU gives up 27 points a game. Vanderbilt gives up 34. When I'm talking about a 12.5-point spread, I can live with that difference.
There we go. Teddy handled your question. Mark Zinno, everyone. Mark, what do you have to promote?
Guys, we got a special code over at Sports Member for me, Zinno 50% off an all-access pass from 1 day to a full year subscription. Much like Steve, started out hot in the NBA this year, 3-1 to start the year, 9-3 going back to last year's playoffs in the NBA. And, of course, in college football, we are up 18.2% since September 2nd and 62% since October 14th. So we're starting out hot in college football here. But, again, Zinno 50, the code over at Sports Memo, 50% off an all-access pass for 1 day or an entire season.
Mark Zinno, everyone. Mark, thanks for joining us, man. Real pleasure. Teddy, it's time for your big game breakdown.
Let's do it. Big game breakdown time. Let's go to the NBA for Tuesday night. Talk about the Magic and the Clippers. Right now, look at the WagerTalk live odds screen. We've seen Orlando money, understandably why. We'll talk about it in just a minute. The Magic, the Clippers down to -6. Total sitting 220.5 for LA and Orlando. And certainly, when we talk about distractions, well, basically the Clippers just blew up their depth. They blew up their roster. Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nick Batum's, KJ Martin, all going to Philly along with future number ones and future pick swaps and all of that to get James Harden. This now becomes an in-between game, a transition game for the home favorite before Harden arrives, after their depth is gone. That is a pretty big concern against an Orlando team that is loaded with quality depth. Magic, 10 different players between 11 and 37 minutes last night against the Lakers. Their end game didn't pan out. They didn't score their last 4 possessions, end up losing a game by 3, where they were +2. Frustrating for Magic backers. Worth noting, Darvin Ham's quote, Lakers head coach after the game, quote, "Orlando forces you to play and compete each and every possession on both sides of the ball. They never stop coming. You can see the growth in that team. They make you play. They put a lot of pressure on you." Orlando off a loss, major moneymaker for me last season. And of course, let's not forget, no travel for Orlando in this spot on the second of back-to-backs. And the depth is there. 10 different guys, like I said, saw at least 11 minutes of playing time last night. I think the Magic give the Clippers a game tonight. I wouldn't be surprised they win it straight up. +6, count me in. Orlando, plus the points for this better. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers, as we spoke about, it is Customer Appreciation Day at WagerTalk, $2 for every handicapper participating in it. Are you involved, and what do you have?
I am involved, and we have an NBA on TNT best bet for the early game. So there you go. And of course, the Clippers Magic play that I just talked about, that is a client release for me as well. You can read all the analysis over at my page at wagertalk.com.
Awesome. Okay, brother, we still have Carm to go. We've got about 15 minutes left of this show. Let's get into some NFL marketplace. And let's start with the LA Chargers, Teddy. Nice victory on Sunday night, but look, they were playing the Bears. Is this team a buy or sell team moving forward?
For me, they're a prove-it team. I can't give them a buy or a sell right here. I really can't. I won't be buying the Chargers until they prove it, and a win over the Bears isn't enough to prove it for me. That's my take. What about you?
I think they're a buy team moving forward, and I think we've seen it over the last couple of years where they just started off badly and then they went on a big, fat, juicy run. This is a team that has done it again this year. They've started off badly, 3-4. Now they face the Jets. I think as the year progresses, the Chargers are going to be better and better and better. I'm high on the Chargers. I think they are a buy team moving forward. I think they are just loaded with talent. Go ahead.
Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh's a fascinating team because the markets, the wise guys don't like Pittsburgh. There's been money against Pittsburgh. And yet, and of course, Steelers didn't look good last week. But here they are once again, like Tomlin's teams do, playing 500 or 500 better football every single year. What do you do with the Steelers? We're going to make money with that team, or are they a fade only?
They're a fade team. And you know what, Teddy? It's this Tomlin winning streak year after year after year, and the Steelers' pedigree is really why I think they're a fade team. They're playing Tennessee on Thursday night. They're -2.5. I understand that they're 4-3, brother. I get it. They shouldn't be favored against almost any team. That's how I think Pittsburgh is terrible. So from my perspective, I put Pittsburgh and Green Bay, which we'll talk about tomorrow on Marketplace Part 2. These teams are not very good, and they struggle to score. And when they are a favorite, I am looking to bet the other side. Here they are again, a favorite. I'm looking to bet Tennessee, and I think this Pittsburgh team is terrible, and I think Mike Tomlin's win streak might be coming to an end. Speaking of that game, Teddy, they're playing the Tennessee Titans. We saw Will Levis air the ball out. That is the most points the Titans have scored in since 2021, I think, offhand. Now there's footage on him. Are the Titans a buy or sell team moving forward? And we must assume that Levis will be playing moving forward until he stinks it up.
Sure. I mean, lots of QBs come in and play well.
Yes.
The first time. And
Right.
then once you get film on them, then you start to see that production level start to decline, which could happen for Levis. And, Tannehill is a proven veteran. When healthy, he may well get the job back. There were 3 teams in the NFL that I raised my power ratings significantly last week on. And Tennessee was one of those 3 teams. And at this stage of the season, I'm rarely adjusting a half point, a point, unless it's a serious quarterback injury. I'm not making a big adjustment of more than a point. And there were 3 teams that did last week. And Cincinnati was one. New Orleans was the other. And then we have this Titans team. So there are certainly things to like about Tennessee right now. I am concerned about the injury report for Thursday night. Pay attention. DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry. Those 2 guys were the difference offensively in their win this past week. And they both have some injury questions going into this week's game on Thursday. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. 1 week, the defense is good. 1 week, the offense is good. They're making plays. They're making win-now moves at the trade deadline. But the consistency hasn't been there. What do we do with the Seahawks and Pete Carroll's squad?
Teddy, I think they're a buy team. I think here you go again. They're playing the Ravens. They're plus 5.5. That's not a lot of respect for a 5-2 team. This team has got one of the most consistently incredible receivers in history in Lockett. They've got an absolute beast of a receiver in Metcalf. They found a tight end. Their running game is rock solid. I think from an offensive perspective, this team is really good. From a defensive perspective, they are getting back some players, not this week, but soon. And they've been really playing, well, mediocre, but good enough. They had a shitty game last week and still got the win against Cleveland. I like Seattle moving forward. I wouldn't be blown away if they won their division. This team came into the year, I would say, slightly under the radar and have been impressive. I'm looking to take them this Sunday against Baltimore. I think they're a buy team. You?
So my clients and I have season win report, season win bet over on Seattle, 8.5 wins. So I feel pretty good about that right now. But I don't put the Seahawks with the elite teams of the NFL. This is a good team, not a great team. Geno Smith is an okay quarterback, not a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. So, I mean, they're good, but contenders in the NFC, I don't think so.
Well, on that note, so you've got Philadelphia, you've got Dallas, you've got the Lions. Those, to me, are standing on the top of the NFC. Now, what do you do with San Francisco, right? They've lost 3 games in a row.
I put them ahead of Seattle, and right there with those 3 teams, I put them ahead of Detroit.
I agree.
Yeah, San Fran. Yeah. If you're ranking the pecking order in the NFC, it's Dallas, Philly, San Fran, Detroit, Seattle, and Detroit's ahead of Seattle. So
you put Dallas number 1?
Dallas, Philly, San Fran.
Oh, so you're just grouping all 3. So not in order. Yeah. Yes. So I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. And so we disagree there. Carmine Bianco joining us, everyone. Carm, you're killing it in the NFL. You got that Carm is cooking gift that you tweet out. You went 5-0 in the Circa this Sunday. You made huge money, over $100,000 in the Circa last year. You know your NFL. Is there anything you'd like to add to what we have just discussed?
Well, I agree with Teddy on his 3 teams: Dallas, Philadelphia, and San Fran. I think they're heads above every team out there. I think people obviously are going to put San Fran ahead of Dallas because of what happened in San Fran. But I think you draw a line through that one, and they're starting to figure out Purdy. Teams are starting to figure out Purdy. So maybe if they meet again in the playoffs, and it's in Dallas, maybe it's a different outcome. We'll see.
Well, one thing Detroit is going with them, Carm, is they don't have to mess with Philadelphia twice. And I think they might end up with home field advantage when all is said and done. So I'm going to stay on Detroit's. Slow Jams writes, Prez is on crack again. For the record, I've never done crack in my life, but I'm game for a one-nighter. Teddy covers. You've never cracked it up.
Me? I'm on crack right now. What are you talking about? I was just hitting the pipe before we came on the show, buddy. Let's get riled up.
It's a pipe, isn't it? It's not like a spoon with a needle. I don't even know. I'm sure there's a million ways to do crack. Carmine Dave Sharapan was supposed to join us today. He couldn't make it. You're coming on last minute. And as you texted me, we exchanged one bald man for another. So with that said, you've got a prop bet for us on the Leaf game. I'm going to the Leaf game tonight. I'm excited. What is your bet?
You're going to see a good game tonight. I love the way the LA Kings are playing right now, and the Kings have had by far a tough schedule out of the gate, and it goes to sometimes in looking at a team's schedule to figure out if they're underperforming or if they're just playing teams that are very tough, and they've had to play Vegas. I wrote the teams down. I'm sorry, but they've had to play some pretty tough teams thus far: the Avs, the Kings, the Jets, Minnesota, Boston, Zona twice, who's playing very well, and the Vegas Golden Knights, and they're playing well in doing that. So they are a live dog tonight. But I want to look at player props instead because you've got a guy tonight who's got Trevor Moore over 2.5 shots on goal, -125. And Trevor Moore is a guy who broke in with the Toronto Maple Leafs, played a couple seasons with them before they shipped him off. And he's gone over his number in 6 of 8 games, 10 shots in his last couple of games. When you find one of these guys, you just have to play them when they're playing extremely well. This is an LA team, and you've got a high total in Toronto tonight. I guess they're expecting goals, and I get it just because the Kings have gone, I think, over the total in 6 of 8 games, 6-1-1 to the over in their games. Moore's going to want to go there and be part of the offense tonight, and over 2.5 with minimal juice. And when you're playing player props, -125, -135 is pretty much minimal juice because a lot of the better players get juiced up into the higher ranges and stuff.
Teddy, so Carm, I write to Teddy in Slack. Teddy, no follow-up, just go on to the next game. And Teddy writes, I have several long involved follow-up questions. So I'm excited, Teddy. That's a lot of pressure for a guy who's probably making that up.
Oh, I don't really. Let's talk about Vancouver and Nashville. So I'm assuming the 2 games in Canada tonight are Canadian. You guys don't have Halloween, or what's up? Is that like how come both games are Canadian home games? So is it your Halloween's not strong enough to?
We have Halloween too, bro. It's just scheduling, and the schedule's been so strange this year. 16 games one day, 1 game the next. They're gonna get it going, but it's just scheduling. We do Halloween.
I know, Lawrence. I was being facetious. Well, Nashville and Vancouver right now. Looking at Vancouver, -135, -140 out there. Total sitting at 5.5 juice to the over. You got a prop for this one, Carm. Where are we going?
Thanks, Teddy. You look at it, and I talked about this game on Puck Time earlier, but I talked more about the sides. And these are 2 teams. I think teams, the NHL, the whole NHL model is changing. With regards to, you have a lot of coaches who were former players, and the ones who are warriors, their players seem to respond better to. You have obviously for Carolina, you have Brindamore, you have Tocchet for Vancouver, and Vancouver's playing extremely well, 5-1-2 with a 31-19 goal differential, and their 3 games that they've lost, they've been in those games. They lose 4-3. In Tampa Bay against the Lightning, respectable game. They lose 2-0 to the Philadelphia Flyers in Philly, and they lose 4-3 to the Rangers at home. But the Rangers just swept 5 teams in the Western Conference, beating Winnipeg last night in Winnipeg. So respectable games again. But I'm looking at these two teams have already played once before. It was in Nashville with the game ending 3-2. I'm looking at a player prop, and this is another one I like. Philippe Forsberg. His shot total is 3.5 minus 135. He's gone over this number in 6 of 8 games thus far. The 2 games he didn't go over the number against the Boston Bruins, and I almost never will play a player prop against the Boston Bruins because they don't allow a lot of shots on goal. And against the Leafs in that game in which Nashville beat the Leafs 3-2, that was the final game of the Leafs road trip. It was a tight affair, so there weren't a ton of shots in that game as well, too. He's 4-0 against the Western Conference with his shot props. And this is a guy who missed 30 games last season, the tail end of the season, when they probably needed him most with an injury. But he's back healthy in a big part of this offense. He's averaging 4.5 shots on goal per game. So while the 3.5 always seems like a tough one because you need obviously 4. Everyone likes the 2.5s. We had one last night, Eichel of the Vegas Golden Knights. He had 1 shot on goal after 60 minutes, goes to overtime and gets 3 and gets us the win. Wow. It's been a good prop year for us, 8-3 this year, which is number 1 at WagerTalk. And last year for the full NHL season, I was number 1 in player props. So it's been very good. And if you're watching Puck Time, I give these out, some of these out on Puck Time. 10 of the last 11 have hit on Puck Time as far as our best bet at the end of the show.
Carmine Bianco, everyone. It's $2 appreciation day. We appreciate all of you guys. Every handicapper taking part. Their play is only $2. Carmine, what do you got going for the clients tonight?
Yeah, there was a 5% play up, but it goes off in like 20 minutes time, 15 minutes time. It's in soccer. But as part of the $2 customer appreciation, there's a 4% NHL play up tonight. I've taken a very cautious approach to the first month of the season in the NHL, unlike the last couple of years where my starts weren't the greatest, and it's better this year. And when releasing a 4% or higher play thus far, I've only released 5 in the NHL. We've gone 4-1 with those, so 80%. We're clicking with those, and there's one tonight, and you get it for $2.
Carmine Bianco, everyone. Thanks for coming on, Carm. I know it was super late notice. Okay, guys, so we're at 121 likes. I will forgive the 4. Dan, it's time for the daily presidential address. Okay, everybody, before I've got 2 hockey plays to give out. Before I get into that, I just want to show you all. We have a website up. It's called WagerMerch.com, and this is a hoodie. So 0 pucks given. It's got the Puck Time logo on it as well. I should not do retail. That was terrible. But anyway, check that website out, guys. WagerMerch.com. There's so much great stuff, including slogans like I love ugly dogs, parlays are for losers. If you're playing, you're laying, or whatever Teddy's one is, it's all up there. Check it out. As for your 2 plays today, look, bottom line, guys, I like the over in both games. LA Kings, we've been playing the over in the LA Kings games all year. They're in Toronto tonight. Both teams can score, firepower everywhere. I like the over in that game. And also for the record, it's a bad spot for the Leafs. I hope I'm wrong, but it's a good spot for the LA Kings tonight. I like the over in the Vancouver-Nashville game, especially if you can get 5.5. This Vancouver team is sneaky good. Look to play that. Guys, I'm on a 10-2 NHL run. I got a 3% play up tonight. It also comes with a 3% NBA play, and I'm on a 5-1. Well, I've started the NBA season 5-1. It's $2 appreciation day. You get both those plays for $2. Thank you for watching the show. We will see you tomorrow. Teddy, take us home.
Enjoy the games. Good luck with your wagers. We'll be back on Wager Talk today. Same time, same channel. 9 a.m. here on the left coast. Noon for you back east. We'll be back here tomorrow. Cheers.